Welcome to the Local Domination Podcast, your ultimate guide to get local clients fast. Featuring interviews with local marketing and lead generation experts who will show you exactly how to attract local clients and dominate your market. And now, here's your host, Doran Aldana.
All right, welcome everyone to another episode of the Local Domination Podcast. This is Doran Aldana, your host. We're going to be talking about everything you need to know to get local clients fast. That's what we've been talking about before, and we got more in store. In fact, today is certainly no exception. This is going to be one of the most potently powerful and super galactic awesome episodes I think we've ever put in the stable with the one, the only Ryan Stewman. And I'll tell you what, I've been looking forward to connecting with this guy for quite some time and revealing some of his secret sauce strategies for social media. I've been watching him do his thing and come on up for the last probably, 7-8 years. We've got on the phone a few times over the years. He came up from nowhere, from nothing, and this guy's blowing up on so many different levels. It not only is a absolute bona fide certified social media expert, and his numbers and the kind of growth that he's been seeing and the kind of lives he's been changing are certainly a reflection of that. But one of the things I respect most about Ryan Stewman is the fact that he's a family man. He's a committed husband, committed father. He came up from the dark part of life, going through trials and tribulations more than a lot of people even can consider. He'll tell you his story, so I'm not going to steal his thunder, but he's gone through some dark shit, and he's come through the other side. And he's not only just come up on the other side, he's come up and really shone his light brightly, making a difference in the world beyond perhaps anything he even imagined himself. So he's a story of inspiration. He's a story about turning trials and tribulations into impact in the world and a meaningful purpose that touches hearts and changes lives. And this guy is wicked effective at social media. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to the one, the only Ryan Stewman. Ryan, thanks for hanging with us today, brother.
Cue the applause. Where's it at? Yay!
Absolutely, man. So, hey, we're doing this live and direct, baby. It's happening. We're making history right here, right now. And I didn't put up any numbers, but I know you've been doing some big numbers. You took your enterprises from nothing to multi-millions, and so I don't necessarily need to belabor the fact that you're legit on the front lines of capitalism, making things happen. But why don't we just start off with people who are uninitiated, who don't really know your story. Maybe this is the first time they've entered the world of Ryan Stewman. Break it down, brother. How did you get into this entrepreneurial adventure, and how did you get so wicked effective at social media? And tell us a little bit about also your journey, the challenges that you've come up through, and then how you got to be where you're at now.
I will. I feel like some days that I feel like I'm challenged more than Conor McGregor. Like everybody wants to fight that guy and take his belt and stuff like that. And some days I feel that way. I'm like every around every corner there's a new challenge for me, and I'm not somebody who's accustomed to or ever had an easy life. And people can look today and say, well, he drove to work in a Rolls Royce in a building where Google's headquarters is, and he's got employees and a hot wife and 3 kids and runs these successful businesses. But I'm still, every morning I wake up and I'm like, dude, I don't even know how we got here, but it's awesome that we're here, Right. And I just want to say this, you were talking a little bit about history, and I want to share the history of you and I with your audience here. I remember that still as clear as bell the first time that I ever heard your name or saw anything with you on it. I was just transitioning out of the loan officer world. I was a loan officer for 8 years, very successful at it. And I'll tell you why I don't write loans anymore here in a few minutes. And but I'll explain to the audience. And I was still watching loan officer stuff. And so I went to this website like almost every day religiously. These dudes, Brian, Stephen, Frank Gray, they had a website at the time called Think Big, Work Small. Mm-hmm. And now in retrospect, I don't even know what the hell that meant. But that was
right.
And I would see the ads on the side, and I would be like, well, these are cool. And I clicked on one of your ads, and you sent me a package in the mail, and I bought it, obviously, and you sent me a package in the mail with some DVDs of interviews similar to this, and where you had interviewed experts and you were, interviewing top tier loan officers and stuff like that. And I still remember, this was so long ago that the audio was horrible on those DVDs or CDs. Right. But the content was good, so I still listened to it, right? Like, despite the static, because things weren't as clear and as good and as 4K and all the stuff that we have these 10 years ago. And you were one of the people that really inspired me to say, like this guy's internet marketing doing things. And I had, at the time I was transitioning out of the mortgage industry. In America, mortgages went from being state regulated to federally regulated. And in America, I got in trouble for having some guns that I shouldn't have had. And I had to go do a little time in prison. And when I got out, I went back to writing mortgages, and that was like 2008. So it was just 10 years ago. And in 2010, the federal regulation took over the licensing away from the state. And I couldn't get a federal license, obviously, because I was recently a federal convicted felon. And so I was searching for new shit to do, basically. I was like, I've been really, even in 2009 when the economy here in America was collapsing and unemployment was an all-time high, and people were losing their jobs as loan officers left and right. Companies were shutting down, and too big to fail was a big deal, and all that stuff. I was prospering, and I had the rug swept out from under me. Like literally. And what was crazy was because this was in 2010 in March, well, in July of 2008, I walked out of federal prison with $25 to my name. I walked into prison a millionaire, and I walked out with $25 to my name. My then at the time wife divorced me, met another dude, and I was only in federal prison for about 15 months, which to some people, like, dude, I've been in jail. Like, some people say, man, I've been in jail for like 12 hours. It was crazy. I couldn't imagine 15 months. But to me, there was people in there for 15, 20, 30 life sentences. You know what I mean? And so like my little 15 months, my big problem seemed really small, really quick once I was in there. So it didn't seem like a long time to me. But back to the story here, I walked into prison a millionaire and walked out with $25 to my name, got out, got a job back in the mortgage, built my income back up on a W-2 to $300,000 a year, only to have the rug swept out from under me just 2 years later. And now I call it the force of average, right? Like, anytime you're destined to do great things, there's going to be big things come against you to keep you from breaking through. That's just how this planet works. The planet wants to keep you in your comfort zone. It wants to keep you from excelling, and government regulation and everything else is all put in place to make that happen, because money and influence equals power, and people don't want power transferred to just anybody's hands and everything else. And that's just how this planet works. And so here I am, I'm like living this life full of ups and downs. Like, one minute I'm a millionaire, the next minute I'm in federal prison for some shit that I shouldn't even went for in the first place, and isn't even illegal now anyway. That's how crazy it was. It was like it was an illegal thing for like 4 years only, and then they banished it. But hell, that didn't take my life back. It didn't remove the strike from my record. And I get out, and I convince the biggest bank in Texas to give me a job. I get a job. I become top producer in there. I'm making anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 a month. Making $300,000 in 2009. I've already made, by March of 2010, which is typically the slow part of the year, I'd already made $75,000. So I was on track to have a hell of a summer, and then boom, it was just all gone within an instant. And I didn't know what to do. And one of my realtor partners said, well, why don't you teach loan officers how the hell you were able to do so many loans in a down economy? Then I said, man, I don't know how to coach people, first of all, and second of all, I don't know anything about internet marketing. And that's what kind of drew me to the Think Big, Work Small website, where I originally discovered you and those DVDs. And no offense or disrespect, but I was like, man, if this guy, it's this big presence and making all this money from these DVDs that sound like, or these CDs that sound like absolute shit but full of good content, I was like, man, I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to have, you had great funnels, but I was like, I don't have to deliver this absolutely perfect, flawless product and go and get inside of a recording studio. I can record the stuff on my phone and do all this stuff, man. So you don't know this, but you were one of the first inspirations into this world for me. And, you flash forward. You flash forward from 2010 to now, and it's been 8 years, and I have a mansion, exotic cars. I have 8 businesses that do multiple 7 and some 8 figures a year.
So, dude, I mean, come on, that's one hell of an adverse situation. 15 months in prison. I can't even imagine 15 freaking weeks, let alone 15 months. But obviously, you've come a mighty long way since you've been in that dark place. Tell us about fast forward to the present. Where are you at now? What's transpired? What's happened since you came through that dark valley, and where are you at now?
Now, I mean, like I said earlier, I drove a Rolls Royce to work. I work in the same building as Google's, regional headquarters here in Dallas. I have great clients, great friends, a wonderful family. Business. I have 8 different businesses that are doing a minimum of 7 figures per year, and no partners, no investors, joint ventures, anything like that. I'm like what you would call, and with all humility here, I'm what you would call a self-made man. Like, I really picked myself up from leaving federal prison with $25 to crushing it in the mortgage business, to having the rug swept out from under me again, to just grinding and building. And I've done most of it, Doran, from social media. And I was doing social media stuff back when Gary Vee didn't have books out yet and everything else, and I learned it by accident. I had this my wife left me when I was in prison, and when I was in the mortgage business, I would post my plaques onto Facebook where I had closed all this stuff and did all these deals, and every month I was obviously salesman of the month, and so I would post my plaques and talk about all the families that I was helping, to kind of rub it in her face in case she was looking at me, but as a weird byproduct of that, people started hitting me up going, hey, do you think you could help me get a house? Do you think you could hook me up with a realtor? Do you think? But all of a sudden I became this guy that was in control of leads, and I didn't have to go knock doors. I didn't have to cold call. I didn't have to go to networking events or anything else. And then I had this epiphany. It was like, dude, if I can sell mortgages mortgages, that's where people give you their credit, their social security number, their bank statements, all this stuff. If I can sell mortgages from social media, I'm pretty sure you can sell anything, right? And so I just went all in, and I started working on, I started off as actually managing social media for people like Frederick Eklund and Josh Flagg and other celebrity real estate people that are on TV here in America, to local brokers and business owners. And then I built that up, man, to where I was managing 75 different Facebook profiles, posting 5 times a day and answering all their DMs. I mean, dude, you talk about, I was worn out like a one-legged man in an ass-kicking competition by the end of every day, because because I didn't have any partners or anything. And at one point, I just said, man, I got to start teaching this shit. But managing those 75 profiles and managing like all those client stuff allowed me to really get an insight to what worked and what didn't. And I got a massive amount of experience over about a year's time that at the time nobody else had. And I just didn't know how to scale a business. I always thought that I just had to do everything myself, or I would still probably have that agency, and it wowould probably be huge because of the fact that I was into this long before the average person was. I mean, back in 2011, when I would tell people, hey, you can make money from Facebook and you can get leads from it, people go, Facebook, man, I'm like friends with my mom and my cousin on there. And that's it, right? Like it wasn't the same way it is today. In the last 3 or 4 years, people have really went, wow, you can make money from social media and you can grow your business on social media. But the 4 years prior to that, people like, you want to sell me Facebook marketing? Get out of here, man. That's for like kids and shit, right? And that's how I got the name Hardcore Closer, because I wouldn't leave people behind. I'm like, if you don't embrace this shit and get on top of it, your competition is going to blow you away. And, I hate to say it, but I was right. Those that didn't embrace it have been left behind. And those that did decide to embrace social media, like myself, have gone on to do, 8-figure years consistently in their businesses just from strictly social media. I know some of the biggest names out there, Gary Vee, Grant Cardone, Ty Lopez, they didn't make their presence and their brand and everything by knocking on doors. They use social media. Tony Robbins these days, he's not sending out mailers and all that other stuff, dude. He's out there on social media running ads every day. So, I was just an early adopter to it. But man, it's not always rainbow and sunshine. I have days where sales members don't show up or have to fire somebody, or like yesterday, I spent my entire day with bankers, lawyers, dealing with the IRS, and just the things that you have to do as a business owner. So, I mean, it's not all like glitz and glamour, nice cars, looking like a damn rap video over here. But my life definitely does not suck anymore. So
no, definitely not by any stretch of the imagination. You're just stepping up to bigger problems. You know, that's the cool part about leveling up, is you don't get the same old boring ass problem of being broke, you know, and having too much money at the end of the money, and whining, sniveling, complaining about circumstances, you know, whipping you around like a rag doll. But you level up to bigger problems like, you know, dang, I'm paying that much in tax? For real? It's just a different level of problem. But you know what really inspires me about your story, Rye, is, you know, most people, 15 months in prison, losing your wife, you know, the love of your life, that would absolutely crush them. Most people, they, you know, start to own this victim story that my life sucks, I'll never be able to bounce back, you know, maybe this is my lot in life. And they just let life shit kick them, and they just sit in the fetal position with their thumb in their mouth and their tail between their legs, and they just stay stuck in that victim role. But there's something about the indomitable spirit of Ryan Stewman that rose up in the midst of that storm, in the midst of that trial, and just decided, you know what? I'm going to use this to get stronger, to get better, to get sharper. I'm going to use this not as a setback, but as a setup. And that's the part I really am curious to know. What was it in, you know, on that journey that had you just decide to use it to polish you instead of pulverize you, just like a grinding stone? You know, it could either pulverize you or it can polish you, depending on how you position yourself. What was it that allowed that adversity to make you stronger, to make you more prosperous, to make you sharper, to make you better, to have it be a launching pad for the kind of amazing prosperity and impact and contribution and success that you're now enjoying? Tell me about that for a moment.
Man, I don't like to lose, and I think that really in life, the only way we can lose is quitting.
Right.
You know, in anything, in sports, anything else, you can always improve. You really have a choice in life. You can improve or you can lose, and the only way that you lose is you quit. And I refuse to lose, and I refuse to quit. And you know, it's not like my business took off overnight. You know, it's like I said, I had to convince people to let me, and I managed their social media door for $100 a month, bro. It wasn't like, you know, like, oh, dude, this guy got rich 1 year into the business. Like 1 year into the business, I'm making $7,500 a fucking month over here busting my ass for people, right? While they're making $10,000 real estate transactions from my efforts and stuff like that, you know? But I refuse to give up, and I'm like, you know what? If 7,500 is possible, 75,000 is possible. And if 75,000 is possible, 750 is possible. And if 750 is possible, then 7.5 is possible. And if 7.5 is possible, 75 is possible again. And man, I just keep working. And I was telling I was doing a live stream for my coaching group. There's about 700 people in a coaching group that I have right now. And I was telling them that, you know, for me, it's nothing's ever been handed to me. And for me, it was about just like sticking to the plan and actually doing the work. I have a lot of friends, and I even flew out to a Berkshire Hathaway meeting earlier this year, their annual shareholder meeting. And Warren Buffett talked about all he does is read books all day and read newspapers all day. I have a few wealthy friends, and I'll ask them, I say, what do you spend the majority of your day doing? And they'll say, well, I'm reading and learning. And they ask me, what do you spend the majority of your day doing? And I'm like, working and hustling, man. I wake up at 5:30 in the morning. I immediately drink protein shake and drink my normal water concoctions like pink Himalayan salt and lemon. It gets you hydrated. I learned that from Aubrey Marcus. And then I hit the gym, come from the gym, take a shower. I hit the office. I go all in on the office till about 6:30 or 7 o'clock at night. And then when I get done, I like cut that shit off and I turn it on for my family, and I go all in with my family. On the weekends, man, I don't take the weekends off and sleep in all day. You know, Sunday, me and my son drove to Oklahoma and went and rode four-wheelers all day. And then after we rode four-wheelers all day in the Texas/Oklahoma heat, and dying, and I mean, it's hot down here. It's a lot different climate than where you're at, right?
Hella hot.
Yes, hella hot. And then when literally, like, if hell's hotter than Texas, I'd be surprised, right? So,
right.
And then we go play football. I live in a city where the Dallas Cowboys practice facility is like within a quarter mile of my house. So then I go play football on their field with my kids, for a couple hours in the evening time too, man. And I don't sit alone with my thoughts. I don't sit around thinking about how I'm gonna get myself out of this situation. I am just working my way out of this situation, and I stay constantly in. And I know it's said a lot. It's like, gotta stay constantly in hustle mode. And I'm not constantly in hustle mode. I'm constantly in action mode, right? Because I feel like hustle is such a rapper and maybe even kind of a deceitful term. And I know that's not what a lot of people mean when they say it, but when you think of a hustler, you think of a pool hustler or a bookie or something like that. And,
right.
And, I hustle, I work hard, man, but really I'm just an action taker. And
right.
I don't sit around and I have this thing I love saying, you can't act, you can't feel your way into taking action. You have to act your way into a feeling. So when I wake up in the morning and I don't feel like going to the gym, I have to take action, and then when I get in the gym, I feel better. And so the same thing, when I get into the office, I don't feel like busting my ass and doing interviews and coaching clients and all this other stuff, man. I just take action until it feels good. And man, that's just what I do, man. All day long, I just take action, and that's the one key that's got me. And that action's being taken on social media. It's being taken in the office. It's being taken in my family life. It's being taken in the fitness of my life. Like, I'm trying to be an action taker across every single area of my life, because I believe those of us that take action eventually run laps around those that sit around thinking. But it doesn't happen overnight.
Absolutely. And so it doesn't happen in a day, it happens daily. And I often like to say everyone wants to be a champion. Not everyone's willing to pay the price and do what it takes to become a champion, because it takes something. If it was easy to be successful, everyone would be fit, rich, and happy. Most people are fat, broken, unhappy. Why? Because it takes something. And it takes that grit, and that's really, I think, one of your secret sauce advantages that has you at the top right now and continues to climb up new mountains instead of sliding down old ones, Rye, is you got too much grit to quit. And even when you had adverse circumstances and there was a proclivity and a tendency and maybe even a temptation to let your circumstance mold you and mold your identity, you decided to own your winner identity and have that identity mold your circumstance. And you didn't allow your identity to cave in to prison, cave in to what seemed like a hopeless situation. And it reminds me of another truth that I often speak, and that is, winners always find a way to win. And you are a shining, gleaming, beaming example of that. You own the identity. You know what? I know I'm not winning in my circumstance right now, but I ain't going to give up. I'm not about to give up. I got too much grit to quit, and the only way to lose is to quit. And you just kept on keeping on. And look at the transformation, man. You're an inspiration to so many. I'm certainly one of many who are inspired by your story. So love that, brother. So let's talk about social media. Let's talk about, for people who are listening right now, they're local business owners. They're trying to level up. They're trying to dominate their space. And a lot of them, they don't know, front from back, bottom to top when it comes to social media. And it's daunting because it's the unknown, right? We all start in the unknown realm. We're in the unconscious incompetence. We don't even know we're clueless, and then we step into it a little bit, and then we get conscious in our incompetence. We're very conscious about our incompetence, and that can stop a lot of us. So how does someone in that level of awareness, realizing that they're pretty much clueless at social media, actually step into this social media thing and start crushing it? What are some of the key steps, and what are some of the the critical pitfalls to avoid? Tell us a little bit about kind of the critical elements they need to be aware of to start using social media as a actual profit generating tool as opposed to a time wasting vortex.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to give your folks the best social media advice they've ever heard in their life.
Okay.
And let me preface this with a couple things. When people listen to podcasts like this, interviews like this, they're smarter than the average person, and smart people tend to complicate shit. And we know that keeping it simple sells. And my biggest talent on this planet isn't action taking. It isn't making money. It isn't making babies and being a good father and being a business owner. It's taking complex, very very complex issues and making them very simple. And another thing that smart people will say is they'll say, well, my business is different or it doesn't work for me. And that's complete bullshit too. And then they'll try it, and then what will happen is they'll try it for a little while, and they're not rich. They're not Ty Lopez overnight. They're like, well, this shit just doesn't work for me. It works for Ty Lopez. And I'm here to tell you that all that's bullshit from what I call the force of average, trying to force you back into your comfort zone. And if you don't step out of that comfort zone and actually take action, you're going to keep repeating that cycle. And we know that when you repeat a cycle over and over expecting different results, that's insanity, right? Like, I mean, that there's everybody's probably heard that before. And so what I'm going to share with you today, first of all, I don't want you to knock it and think that it won't work for your business. I own a software business. It works for it. I own a real estate business where we buy, fix, sell, and flip homes. It works for it. I own a coaching business. It works for it. I own a consulting business. It works for it. It works across the board. I have businesses that have done everything from sell sex toys to sell financial planning, right? And it's worked for all of them. So your preconceived notions that your customer's different and that you're an accountant that's bullshit. Okay, so just drop that guard and hear me out. The second thing is the next thing is you don't have to know shit about social media. See, here's what happens. You see these ads that float through your news feed, and it's this dude trying to sell you or this shit trying to sell you social media, and they're like, what you've got to do is you've got to understand the algorithm, you've got to have your metrics, you've got to do this, that, and the other, and you've got to be able to watch your pixels, and you've got to do your retargeting. And people look at it and they go, holy shit, how am I going to run my business if I'm focused on all these other things that I don't even know what the hell? It's like they're speaking French to me. I don't even know what that means in the first place, right? And I'm telling you, you don't need any of that. All you need is this. First of all, you have to get inside the mind of your prospect. So many people don't even know who their perfect prospect is. They're like, they own a restaurant, and they're like, they sell Mexican food, and we're like, who's your perfect restaurant? They're like, who's your perfect prospect? And they're like, someone who's hungry. No, it's someone who enjoys Mexican food. And then what do they like about Mexican food? They like tortillas and beans and rice and margaritas, right? Like, you have to really get inside the mind of your prospect. Like, I tell loan officers all the time, nobody wants what you sell. If you're a mortgage officer, nobody wants what you sell. Same thing for insurance people. Nobody rolls over in the middle of the night and goes, I'm excited about our mortgage. I'm excited about our new insurance policy. No, they want a house. Right? They want a house, and if they want that house, they got to have a mortgage. Right. And if they want a car, and if they want that car or that house, they've got to have insurance on it. Right? Nobody's excited about the insurance or the mortgage. They're excited about the house. So you have to find out really what it is that excites your clients. So that's step one. Get inside the mind of your prospect and figure out what it is that they really want. Second thing is deliver it to them on social media. Now let's talk about Facebook, for example. People get on there, and here's what the mistake most people make. They think they're Kardashians. They think everybody gives a shit what kind of clothes they're wearing, or how their kids look, or what fashion line they're supporting, or what their cars look like, or what they ate for lunch, or what time of the day they took a poop, or whatever. All that stuff that people like. They try to just act like it's this social media reality show about them. But guess what? None of us are popular. We're business owners. I have 500,000 followers on social media, and I still don't consider myself popular. And because I know that nobody really gives a crap what I ate for lunch, but they do care that I inspire them because I'm inside the mind of my prospect. So here's what I do. I know that my prospect is a business owner or a high-performing salesperson/manager. Right? Somebody who's making over $250,000 a year, either owning a business or selling a lot for a business or managing a team of people that sell for business. My ideal client's not an engineer, it's not an HR person, it's not anybody like that. It's somebody who is either in sales or owns their own business, the entrepreneur type, right? And a lot of sales guys are entrepreneurs. So I know what's going to happen. As soon as they hit the office, the shit's going to hit the fan. A client's going to back out, a deal's going to fall through, and an employee's going to call in sick. And so I know that being inside the mind of my prospect, the first thing that I need to do is be the person that they look at every morning when they wake up for inspiration. So I'm not going, I'm not talking business first thing in the morning with them. Every morning at 6:30 a.m., because I know most people that are self-starters or early risers, right? And so like, here's my post this morning: with dedication and constant strive for improvement, what was impossible last week can be possible this week. Last week I struggled to squat 305 pounds for 1 rep. Today I did 2 reps at 325. I have my mind right, my intention's good, and I work my ass off to build up to it. The same thing's possible in your business, your relationships, and your overall life. When you want it, and you work for it, nothing is impossible. Let's all make the impossible possible today. Fuck your excuses, right? So that's Amen. What I post, because I know that somebody's going to read that first thing in the morning, and they're going to be like, and then they get accustomed to go on my page first thing every single morning, not because I'm selling them stuff, not because I'm cool, but because they're like, dude, this guy's going to drop some nuggets of wisdom that I'm going to need to be able to make it through the day, because every day is tough when you do what we do, because the force of average tries to force you back into your comfort zone. And in order to fight that force, you have to step out of that comfort zone. And when you step out of your comfort zone, shit gets difficult. That's why it's uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And so I'm in the mind of that. I know about 4:30 to 5:30 every afternoon, those same people are trying to call it quits for the day, and they've probably had a hard day. So I start talking something that's humorous to them, or something that's lighthearted. I can't be going all deep and motivational and inspirational at 4:30 in the afternoon, because most salespeople are like, I've had enough for one day. Most business owners are like, I've had enough for one day. And so I try to do something that's light, something that's easy for them to understand, something that's funny for them, right? Something that makes it entertaining, and not about me, not stories about my life, what I ate. But that's what most people do. They get on social media and they go, look at me, look at me, look at me. And I get on social media and I say, here's something for you. Here's something for you. Here's inspiration for you. Here's something that will help motivate you. Here's something that will make your life improve if you follow this advice. And I'm giving back. And guess what? As a byproduct of that, people hit me up. They say, hey, man, you're so motivational. How can I be like you? First thing you do is join my coaching program. Right? That's where the sales process starts. Most people would just get a DM like that. A lot of people ignore their DMs, but I'm inspiring people, and they're hitting me up going, how can I be like you? It's like, funny you asked. We have a coaching program that I can show you how I've come from where I was to where I am, and I can help you because I've already taken the steps, and I'm pretty damn strong, so I can lift you up with me. Right? Most people would just say, oh, thanks, man. I'm glad I inspire you, and they move on. Right. So I'm inspiring and giving back and giving great content through my blog, through my videos, through my posts on social media. And I'm driving all that stuff there so that people do get inspired, get motivation, reach out to me so they can talk to me. I'm not a fancy person. The whole reason I live in a nice home, and the whole reason, which is recent for me, I mean, I literally just moved to $1 million home 2 weeks ago. I lived in a very humble home for a long time and stacked my paper up. There's an article I wrote on Entrepreneur Magazine where I was a millionaire a long time before I bought a Rolex or a nice car or anything, because I was all about reinvesting into my business and building this machine, right? But there's a reason I drive a McLaren. There's a reason I drive a Rolls Royce. And it's not because I need a fancy car. I mean, it's nice, don't get me wrong. But when I'm standing out in front of a steakhouse or a nightclub or a country club or a business meeting and someone sees my car, the first thing they always ask me is, what the hell do you do for a living? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm glad, because that's all we want as salespeople, just to be able to talk to people about how we can help solve their problems. Right. And so that's what I'm doing, is I'm positioning myself on social media for people to hit me up and say, man, what do you do for a living? I'm glad you asked. Man, you inspire me. How can I be like you? I'm glad you asked. And that's really all you need to know. You don't need to know the algorithm. You don't need to know how to hack the system. You don't need to know retargeting, pixels, and all this other stuff, man. You just need to know what it is that your client and your perfect prospect needs every single day, and you need to deliver that shit with consistency like clockwork.
Yeah, and you're most definitely one of the most, if not the most consistent content contributors that I've seen on planet Earth, social media or otherwise. And the caliber of the content is always entertaining, compelling, inspiring. And dude, I'm tuning in. I got a lot going on, but there's something about the Ryan Stewman post that inspires me to tune in and keep tuning in, because it's real, it's authentic, a lot of times it's funny, it's a lot of times inspiring, and it comes from the heart, and it comes from someone who's gone through the shit and come through the other side. It's not someone who's just talking theory. And what I get about your story, and certainly what you've been talking about with social media in terms of giving content, inspiration in the morning, something entertaining in the afternoon, is you weren't a black belt of this overnight. Reminds me of that saying, every master was once a disaster. Chances are you had the talent for it, and you still have the talent for it. You definitely, most definitely are dancing in your strengths. You're most definitely operating in your unique zone of genius, your unique ability. However, chances are you weren't as adept 5 years ago, 8 years ago, certainly at the beginning of your journey as you are now. So, chances are you're a white belt back then, and you're just inching along doing the best you can with what you knew, trying to level up to maybe yellow belt. You're double down black belt now. There's another level for you. There's always another level. But some people, they can hear you. They can hear your passion. They can hear your certainty and your confidence. And it's just oozing out of your pores. You're like, yeah, Ryan can do that, but not me. That's not my area of genius. That's not my area of my strength. That's not really what I do. Speak to that for someone who's like, man, I get it. I hear it. I feel it. I'm inspired, but I don't see myself doing it. What would you speak to that for someone who's thinking that or feeling that?
Man, neither was I in the beginning. Just like you said, I've got one son that's 6 years old. He's about to be 7. He's 4 belts away from black belt. He didn't know how to punch or anything when he got started, right? You can go back to hardcorecloser.com and look in 2012 and you will laugh your ass off at how shitty my writing and blog posts were. You can go back to 2009 when I started making videos on YouTube and you will laugh your ass off because I couldn't stop looking to the side and being distracted. My hands were all over the place. But just like the master, like one of my core values is I focus on mastery. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to be a novice at anything that I do, so I focus on mastery. And with that being my core value, everything I do, I'm trying to master stuff. So, practicing, I write 10,000 words a day. Not because I like writing. I mean, it's kind of cool, but that's how I get better at something. And the better I write, the better I speak. The better I speak, the better people are engaged, the better I can do interviews like this, the better I can change lives, the more people want me on their deal because they're like, he's well-spoken, he's funny, he's entertaining, he's educational. And so, man, it's a daily practice. If you think, like, if you go back and you look at my Facebook page, even just 6 years ago, I was ranting about people and calling people up. I was so frustrated with life. I saw all these people winning and I wasn't winning and I was pissed off at the world. And, I'm smoking pot all the time to calm my nerves because I wanted to blow my brains out because, I'd had the rug swept out from me from so many times, man. But I just kept practicing and kept improving and kept trying and kept getting better. And it's just like anything else, man. You don't get a black belt by knowing 10,000 moves. You get a black belt by knowing how to kick the same way 10,000 times.
Right.
And so that's what I've done. Every day I make at least 3 posts a day, and that's just on my personal page. That's not counting the groups and everything else. And I know what people are saying already right now. They're going, well, how am I going to come up with that much content? It's easy. Right? You listen to a motivational speech on YouTube and then you just share and extract the lesson from it that you learned and you share it with people. Right? You read a blog post, you read a story, you just extract something from that blog post or story and you share your perspective and your opinion on it. You don't have to go out and be this master writer. And again, people look at me all the time and make excuses. They go, but you have 6 books. But you have 1,200 blog posts, but you have 1,900 videos. Yeah, but you know how many I started with? 1. You know how many words I put on the first book before I actually wrote it? 1. I started with 1, and that led to 2. And you know how numbers work. The more you do, the higher they go, and I never stop going higher and higher, and I'm always practicing. And guess what? In the beginning, nobody liked my shit either. I'm going to make a post on Facebook. I get 1 like. And it's like my friend, the only friend I got. He's like, man, you know what? Just got to support Stewman because nobody else loves his ass.
That's right.
And now I have a whole community. I have the biggest sales group on Facebook, Sales Talk with Sales Pros. It's like 80,000 people. My Hardcore Closer page has 180,000 fans. My personal page has 35,000 connections on it. But it's not like they all flooded to me, man. I've been doing this consistently for 10 years. And you think about it, just a few people a day coming into my ecosystem over the course of 10 years adds up. Last month alone, we generated 2,500 leads, right? Mm-hmm. And for our Break Free Academy company. And, if you think about that, that's just a few leads every day coming in, 50, 60 leads coming in every single day. And that shit adds up over the course of 10 years, which is why I have hundreds of thousands of people in my database that I can market to at any given moment. But I'm not focused like so many people want to become this overnight success. Well, it doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. You can see today the wife that loves me, the kids that have it all, that go to private school, the nice cars, the nice houses, that came after a lifetime, 17 years in the struggle. Mm-hmm. But I never let the struggle beat me because I refuse to lose.
Mm-hmm. You refuse to be beaten because today can be different than yesterday if you use it to make you stronger, make you sharper, make you wiser, and allow you to have new information, new feedback, new insight, new discovery to start again more intelligently today. And that's why you're a champion, brother. That's why you have respect to so many, including myself. Some people might not necessarily, appreciate your rough and raw, hardcore style, but a lot of people do, and you're authentic to you, and that's why people flock to you, because people either turn up the volume, or change the channel. And I think a lot of people worry too much about what other people think, and they gloss over and they sugarcoat, and they don't actually show up in the world authentically. And that's one of the things that I think is one of your superpowers. You're dancing in your strengths. You're operating in your unique ability. You don't quit. You got a winner's mindset. You have a habit of stepping into your pain. You step into the pressure of the problem. You step in outside of your comfort zone. You press yourself to get stronger every day. You make yourself comfortable being uncomfortable. And you lead by example. You don't ask anyone to do anything you wouldn't do yourself. And that's why you just keep getting stronger. You keep building that muscle. And you give us an opportunity to see that and be inspired to do likewise. So I just want to thank you on behalf of our audience, brother, for being a shining light in the darkness and being an example of a man who doesn't frickin' quit, but steps up and steps into the challenge and uses it to carve your character, to become the man you're called to be, and to become the leader that you know deep down inside, even when you were in prison, you were capable of being. And you stepped through that pain and you made it your game. So love that, brother. So how can people learn more about you? How can people link up with you? I know there's going to be a whole whack of people listening to this. They're like, fuck, if he's this dang good just on one of these free audios, how can I be serving up more of Ryan Stewman every freaking day? So hook them up. How do they hook up with you?
So you can find me on Instagram at Hardcore Closer. Obviously, Ryan Stewman. I'm the one with the blue check. There's sometimes imposters, but I have a blue check on Facebook, so it's STEWMAN. I'm at Hardcore Closer on Instagram. I'm Ryan Stewman on Facebook. And then if you're in sales, we have the Sales Talk with Sales Pros group. And you just go and submit a request and write in there that you learned it from this podcast. And then lastly, if you want to read about business and marketing and all that stuff, you can go over to hardcorecloser.com, and you can I've got 1,200 blog posts about everything that you could possibly think of over there. So there's a few ways to connect with me: Instagram, Facebook, hardcorecloser.com, and then obviously our sales group on Facebook. Our sales group is a very eclectic mixture of crazy ass people. So it's entertaining, educational, and occasionally frustrating.
Be forewarned. You're not
you're not salespeople. Shit happens.
Yeah, you're not about to be coddled in your comfort zone with any of Ryan Stewman's stuff, and certainly that's no exception. So, hey man, as we wrap up, I just want to thank you on behalf of our audience for hooking us up with a massive injection of awesomeness. Even though this is just scratching the surface of the surface, I'll tell you what, I got goosebumps a few times just hearing the passion and power in your voice, and how you've come up. And I know you ain't done, you've just begun, you're just getting warmed up. But yeah, man, the warrior in me salutes the warrior in you. Because I know that the fact that you came through what you came through and all that you've accomplished is because that warrior inside you just decided to never frickin' quit and to do the hard work. Because if you do only the easy stuff, you probably found life gets mighty hard. But when you do the hard stuff, life can get a whole lot easier. And it never is easy, but it gets easier because you're leveling up to bigger challenges, juicier challenges, more adventurous challenges, more exciting challenges. So I'm excited to see your journey, man, as you continue to level up. I love that you're leveling up on so many levels too. You're not just leveling up on your business. I see you leveling up in your home as a family man. I see you leveling up in your health, in the gym. I see you leveling up in your clarity and really stepping into clear-mindedness by throwing the wacky tobacco to the side and saying, hey, imagine who Ryan Stewman can be when he's clear-minded, sound-minded, sober-minded. So, it's the stuff you do behind the scenes like that really fosters a lot of respect from people like me who sees the character of the man leveling up. So thank you for being that inspiration.
I appreciate you having me on, man. How you do anything is how you do everything, and as I live what I call a no limit lifestyle, man. And I just want to I don't want to put a limit on my fitness and not a limit on my finances and so on and so forth, man. So that's just how I roll, man. Man, I appreciate you. I've got some stuff that I'll be reaching out to you here in a few days to talk to you about. I'd love for you to come on and talk to some of our coaching staff and stuff like that, or coaching clients and things like that as well, so that I'd love to turn around and have you do an interview or have you do a live stream back there as well. So I'll be reaching out to you for that. And man, I appreciate everything about you, and I'm glad that we were able to connect. And I hope that your audience, at least one or two people, listens to this and goes, man, dude, that's fire, man. I want this. I'm gonna do what he said. That's all I can. I told my wife this morning, I wake up every day and I got one thing on my mind: who can I inspire? Who can I motivate? And who can I make life better? And you know what? The fact that I make money doing that, it's like freaking still crazy to me.
That's just gravy.
That's it.
That's the cherry on top. But I'm telling you, that fire that you show up with, I know without a shot of a doubt that fire is going to ignite a fire of desire in a lot of peeps around the world. And you can count the amount of apples in the amount of seeds in an apple, but only God can count the amount of apples that can come from one seed. And I know there's a ripple effect and a butterfly effect far reaching beyond anything that we could ever imagine, just from this episode, let alone all the other stuff you're doing and putting out in the world. So dude, keep on keeping on. You're a brother from another mother. I feel your energy. I feel your passion. And that's the kind of energy I want to be around. So keep shining your light bright, brother. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me on, man. Have a great rest of the day.
Absolutely. So that's all for now, my friends. Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Local Domination Podcast, your ultimate guide to getting local clients fast. So if tips galore that help you soar is what you adore, know this: we got more in store. Remember, nothing happens without implementation. So in the meantime, in between time, go forth, engage. It's time for Operation Domination.